20 years ago, we had a block of sitcoms on ABC TV called TGIF. And a good 50 to 75% of the programs that were on TGIF featured black sitcoms like Family Matters, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, and Sister Sister. And we fast forward to 20 years later, we have TGIT, um, which is a block of Shondra Rhimes programs such as Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder, and Grey's Anatomy. And the most disturbing thing about this is the content of these shows. We have gone from positive images of African Americans in a sitcom to a modern day minstrel show. 66% of the shows on the TGIT block feature black women participating in debaucherous and immoral, reprehensible, and egregious behavior. But sadly, this block of programming isn't being protested by African Americans and African American organizations such as NAACP, your black fraternities and sororities, Al Sharpton, Nation of Islam, and other black civic organizations. It's actually being supported and praised. And this disturbing thing is, all three of these shows are produced by one black woman, Shondra Rhimes. And even more disturbing is the fact that can go on Thursday night on Twitter at any time, and you'll see black women, and on Facebook as well, and you'll see black women saying they can't wait to see Scandal. They can't wait to see How to Get Away with Murder. And this block of programming is being promoted as TGIT, which pretty much shows us how low the African American community has fallen. I mean, we went from TGIF 25 years ago, which promoted families and positive images of African Americans and positive images of black families, to programming that presents us with the most disturbing and destructive images of black women. And no one in the black community has a problem with it. In fact, black people are lining up to watch these type of programs on a regular basis. Some black women plan scandal parties. Others plan their entire night around it. Yet, no one has a single word to say about this. And this is supposed to be an accomplishment. And it clearly shows me how backwards African Americans are, that you literally support the images that are the most destructive to black people, and black people put their full support into it. But this follows the trend that I have seen over the last 14 years that started with Monsters Ball and Training Day, and continued further on with Streetlit, and I even dare to say started back in 1999 with the publication of the book True to the Game by Terry Woods, and how African Americans continue to support these so-called urban and street type literature, and how it's turned into literally a hood rat ghetto culture. And this presentation of black women, if it continues to go on, I look at it as social engineering, and that it's literally teaching the next generation of little black girls not to value themselves, because when they see their mothers watching a show like Scandal and planning her night around it and planning parties around it, it tells her that this is the model for being a black woman, and this is the model for black womanhood. And this is basically a Jezebel image repackaged for the next repackaged in a brand new box. But most African Americans will not protest this show, and the sad part is we've planned an entire block. ABC puts on an entire block of programs featuring the worst images of African Americans, and we have African Americans going to watch this show and watch these shows together. I mean, you couldn't get away with this even in the 1950s when we had Amos and Andy and the Buell Show on the air. Imagine if the networks came out with a block featuring Shine, Mr. Bojangles, Amos and Andy, and the Beulah Show. Black people would be outraged. They'd be in the streets protesting this type of block because when Amos and Andy was on the air, black people didn't watch the show. They didn't support the show because they said it was the worst images of black people that ever come out. And I mean, even I can even go back to 1986 when Lisa Bonet starred in Angel Heart. There was vehement protest in the black community featuring when these depictions of black people were presented in media, and we've gone from outrage about these negative images to black people now actively going out to support them. And this shows me the long-term impact of social engineering on the mind of the African American and how social engineering, through watching, constantly imbibing all of this media, the street lit, the magazines, the rap videos, the movies, a constant diet of minstrels, coons, and buffoons is impacting African Americans and impacting the state of African Americans and how they see them, not only see themselves, but how they see each other. And the fact that you have black women embracing the very stereotypes that are meant to degrade and insult her is truly, truly disturbing. And the whole thing is that the silence, just the silence, I mean, out here regarding this TGIT, and nobody's saying a word about how degrading this is, that you have three programs, two of three programs, I would say, two of three programs, which put black women in the worst light, and that ABC is literally just, in its attempts to make diversity, is literally putting on a minstrel show, a series of minstrel shows like that Blackish, this Scandal, this How to Get Away with Murder. It's just literally, it's like watching a block of minstrel shows. Just like I mentioned before, it's like watching Shine, Bojangles, Amos and Andy, and Beulah all in one block. And as a kid who grew up watching Cosby Show and A Different World and other black shows, I never thought I'd see a day where we'd be here and you would have an entire block of minstrel shows put on one night, and you have black women actually going and planning their day around this, planning their evening around it. Never thought I'd be in this situation as a kid who grew up in the 1980s and part of the 90s, and saw all of these great images of African Americans. I never thought I'd see this, but it's disturbing to see that TGIT, as it's called, is being marketed as something great when it's really an insult. It's passive aggressive. Yeah, Disney Corporation is giving you black shows, but the images are the most degrading and insulting known to man. And this is something that I wish more black people would speak about and more protest about. And I even did a blog about it. The reason why I'm doing a video is because black people don't read, because, books and articles are the Negro's kryptonite. They can't read it. If you put a book in front of them, they'll run away. And I've been studying media for years, and an entire block of programs which feature the most negative images of African Americans currently on the air, and not a single protest, and not a single word said, and just people literally embracing them. And this is just disturbing to me, and it says a lot about how low African Americans have fallen. I mean, I look at the history and I look at the decline, and it's like we really are in decline, because stuff like this would not slip by 30 years ago or even 20 years ago during the O.J. Simpson trial, which was really, to me, the true start of the advanced decline of the African American. The declines really started for black people with integration, but we started to see an advanced decline with the O.J. Simpson trial, and it's just gotten worse with each passing decade. And I look at the state of black people, the fact that you embrace the very stereotypes and that have gained new life, just embrace them and see them as okay, and then people will literally argue you down. And I've had this happen on several blogs that I did, um, where I talked about how bad Scandal is. People literally arguing and vehemently defending this program and saying it's perfectly fine. That shows us the black people being at the lowest point I have ever seen in the 41 years I've been alive. This is the lowest point, and I look at it and I don't know if it's ever going to turn around or ever black people are going to wake up, because the way these programs are engineered, this is going to be the culture that's going to be transmitted to many African American children. That the best you can be is a side for a black girl would be as a side piece to a white man, or just to be an evil, vile, disgusting human being. I mean, I know we can be better than this. I've seen better than this, and I try to produce content that features images better than this. But it shows us how low we've gone when we have a black woman producing images of black women, which are the most negative and destructive, and it's promoted as something positive to African Americans as a television block of programs. And when you put a set of programs like that out there, it just sends a really, really bad message to black people. And the sad part is we're at our weakest point. We're not even thinking about how to fight this or combat it, and we don't try to support any type of thing different. And I really see black people is at the lowest point, and I wonder how low it can really go, because I don't even know if it's going to hit rock bottom. I keep wondering, when is the bottom going to hit? When is it going to be a rock bottom? And then he was going to take a look at himself and herself and look at it and go, this is degrading, this is insulting, and I need to do better. And I look at it, the TGIT, as in wake up. I look at it as this is just a slap in your face, and it's an obvious slap in the face. And I keep waiting for things to get better, but when it comes to African Americans and the media they support, it looks like they support the absolute worst media known to man. I mean, it was a low point with the No Good Deed getting $25.4 million at the box office. And because you always hear black people saying they want better, and then you go out and support the very same movie featuring the same brute stereotype that got Eric Garner, Trayvon Martin, and Michael Brown killed, and then say you want justice. It's like I look at a black America, and it's a sad state of affairs. And TGIT is the newest, latest pile of dysfunction on an equally dysfunctional pile, and I, I'm disgusted and disturbed by the whole thing. That's all I have to say for this video. I will not be watching any TGIT or anything like that. I will not even allow it in my home. And you can comment, rate, and subscribe.